This is TJ Donegan with digitalcamerainfo.com. Today we're here to talk about the Leica M Monochrom. It's one of the more interesting cameras to come out in the last couple of years. Let's get out of the way. It's an $8,000 camera that only shoots black and white, which for some people probably sounds insane. For other people sounds like the best thing they've ever heard. Whenever you're shooting black and white, you always want to play to the strengths of the camera, play to the strengths of what the medium does. And black and white, obviously, things like saturation, vibrancy, color don't come through, obviously. But one of the things that does come through great is texture, contrast, just shapes and shadows, and that's definitely what you want to focus on. So you have to actually look at the scene differently than you would if you were shooting color. The camera itself is really designed, the body is obviously like very similar to modern Leicas, but it's also very similar to a lot of film cameras. It has a rangefinder, which means it's manual focus only. There aren't a lot of bells and whistles, modern conveniences like you may be used to seeing on most cameras these days. But for the most part, it's an experience shooting with a Leica that is very different from anything else on the market, and that's good and bad. You know, there's a quote that says, the enemy of art is the absence of limitations. Well, Leica believes that because they put a lot of limitations on how you can shoot. So you're walking around, it's you know, obviously a busy street scenes like any city, and the point of street photography is you catch like a moment. It happens really quickly, and you might see someone running on a bike and they frame perfectly, but obviously with any rangefinder camera you have to focus manually, so something will happen really fast and you might miss it. Even though this is a street photographer's camera, you're not going to get every shot that you want, and that can be something that would be a little tough to deal with at first. It's manual focus only, it's not very quick, obviously it's black and white only. These are all things you have to sort of overcome, but in the end it does actually make you a more conscious photographer, maybe not a better photographer, but at least more conscious. You need to know your settings inside and out to get the most out of this camera, and the camera really shines when you can do that. It takes phenomenally sharp photos. The lack of color actually gives it more resolution than your typical camera. I think everybody who considers themselves a photographer, amateur, hobbyist, professional, should shoot a Leica at some point, get a feel for it, understand, you know, how the camera feels. It really feels like an old school film camera. The lenses are great, but I mean, as a practical purchase, you could buy 6 or 7 great cameras for the price of one of these, not counting lenses. But on the other hand, for Leica lovers, you've already got a lot of Leica lenses and you got a lot of money to burn, the Leica Monochrom is not a bad tool to have in your kit.